Welcome back to the True Crime Rewind, the podcast where we go beyond the evidence, beyond the headlines, and deep into the real stories behind the crimes that captivate the world. I'm Anthony Greeno, and today we're diving into the latest twist in the Delphi Murders case, a case that has haunted Indiana and the true crime community for years. This episode is titled The Ricci Davis Dilemma, and trust me, it's a wild one. We'll be discussing how Davis, an inmate serving a 50-year sentence for meth distribution, has now positioned himself as a key player in the ongoing legal battle surrounding the convicted murderer, Richard Allen. We'll explore his alleged connections to Ron Logan, the original person of interest in the Delphi case, and Kegan Kline, the man behind the Anthony Shots catfishing account. With new legal filings, accusations flying, and the defense team scrambling to get Allen's conviction overturned, the question remains, is Davis telling the truth? Or is he just another inmate looking for a way out? Let's start with what we know. In November, Richard Allen was convicted of the brutal murders of 13-year-old Abby Williams and 14-year-old Libby German. The crime, which took place on February 13, 2017, sent shockwaves through the country. The girls vanished while hiking on the Monon High Bridge Trail in Delphi, Indiana, and their bodies were found the next day on the property of Ronald Logan. For years, the investigation remained stagnant until Allen was finally arrested in 2022. His conviction was based largely on circumstantial evidence, including his own confessions and statements made to police. He was sentenced to 130 years in prison. But that's not where this case ends. His defense team has been working relentlessly to overturn his conviction, filing what's known as a motion to correct errors, claiming that key evidence was mishandled and the state ignored other potential suspects. Now, enter Ricci Davis. But first, who the hell is Ricci Davis? Well, Ricci Davis is an inmate at the Newcastle Correctional Facility. He claims to have inside information on the Delphi case, information that he says came straight from Ron Logan himself. According to Davis, Logan confessed to the murders while they were cellmates. Davis supposedly wrote letters to Carroll County Prosecutor Nicholas McClelland and several news outlets, claiming he had knowledge that could change the entire case. But there's a problem. Davis took a polygraph test, and let's just say he didn't pass. Not just a little bit. He failed miserably. So, was Davis just making things up to get attention? Or is there something more to his story? The defense is now using Davis's claims as part of their appeal strategy. Their argument? That Ron Logan, not Richard Allen, is the true murderer. So let's break it down. Davis says Logan admitted to burning evidence, including clothing, in a fire pit. He also claims Logan told him that he removed the battery from Libby German's phone. The defense argues that this new evidence that was never properly examined in court. The defense argues that this is new evidence that was never properly examined in court. But McClelland, the prosecutor, isn't buying it. He fired back, pointing out that the defense already had access to this information before trial. If it was so crucial, why didn't they present it earlier? This leads to a major question. Can a defense team purposely withhold evidence during trial and then use that same evidence later to request a conviction be overturned? We'll get back to that question later. But first, if you think that this case couldn't get any messier, you'd be wrong. The legal battle has taken yet another turn. with accusations flying from both sides. Last year, the prosecution wanted Allen's defense team held in contempt for leaking crime scene photos to social media influencers. Now, Allen's attorneys are flipping the script, calling for prosecutor McClellan to be held in contempt for publicly releasing crime scene images that were supposed to be sealed. By publicly withholding information that could potentially be exculpatory. A quote from the defense filing: "The court might want to consider whether to hold Mr. McClellan in direct criminal contempt for publicly filing crime scene photographs the court ordered sealed at Mr. McClellan's own request." Essentially, both sides are accusing each other of mishandling evidence. It's a legal tug-of-war, with Allen's future hanging in the balance. Now let's shift our focus to another key figure in this case, Kegan Kline. Kline is currently serving time, 37 more years to be exact, for child exploitation charges. He created the fake Anthony Shots account, which was used to catfish young girls online, even Libby German. Investigators believe this account was used to lure Libby and Abby to the bridge that day. What's shocking is that in Allen's confession to law enforcement, he admitted, quote,
"I remember every little thing, but yeah, I went out there to the trail. I really don't know why I did it. I went. When I got there, I lied in wait for them to arrive. And then..."
But here's where things get murky. Investigators believe that someone else, an older man in his 40s, was also using the Anthony Shots account. Based on differences in text messaging, someone used punctuation and acronyms for words. Investigators believe the other user would use all caps and no punctuation. Some theories suggest that Allen might have been that older man. And then you have the mysterious Emily Ann, 45, that happens to be the same name as my ex-girlfriend. And the description of Anthony's shots is the exact same description of me, highlighting that he was a bounty hunter, graphics design, photography. It should be duly noted that Emily committed suicide in 2020 after being harassed and cyber-stalked from individuals following and trolling in the Delphi Murders case. But let's go back to Richard Allen. You see, the Emily Ann profile would constantly ask young girls if they are interested in sleeping with an older man. Specifically, the Emily Ann profile would suggest her father, who would be in his mid-40s, and suggested that she had even participated in threesome sexual activities with her own father and other girlfriends of hers from online. But this was all a facade. She wasn't real. Anthony Shots and Emily Ann are known predators. Predators of children. Men cyber-stalking, looking for their next victim. And one of those victims reported just days after the murders of Abby and Libby, a young girl just outside of Galveston, Indiana, gave Anthony Shots her address, and that night, two men with ski masks showed up and attempted to kidnap her. And then there's those sealed documents. But we'll get back to those The name Emily Ann 45 may not mean anything to you, but when the so-called Emily is grooming young girls into feeling that it is okay to sleep with an older man, but the fact of the reality is that older man is the person pretending to be the young girl. And Emily Ann 45, in my opinion, represents Richard Allen was 45 years old at the time that he would have been using that profile and the time of the murders. Kegan Kline failed a polygraph test when he was asked if he knew who the Delphi murder suspect was. He said no, and that was a sign of deception. There's more to the story than what meets the eye. This is a case of internet cybercrimes. And the big question is, who the hell is next? Is it you? Is it me? Is it our children? Is it our loved ones? Is it our enemies? And the worst part about it is, he could be hiding right here within the chat, watching. Maybe he knows you. Maybe he's watching you. Or maybe you are him. Or maybe I am. The truth will emerge. And this is where the infamous Wabash River search comes into play. Police spent 40 days searching the river near Kline's home. But the question is, did they find anything? They did take Kegan Kline out of jail under a sealed order to point out the area in question. And then, 18 days after the search ended, Allen was arrested. And Kegan Kline had some of his charges dismissed and amended. Coincidence? Maybe. Maybe not. Another major development in the case involves new forensic technology. Othram Labs was paid $20,000 to use advanced genetic genealogy to analyze unknown hairs and DNA found at the crime scene. This technology has solved cold cases decades old. If they can identify the DNA, it could confirm whether Allen acted alone or if someone else was involved in the murders themselves. As of now, results are still pending, awaiting new technologies and new scientific breakthroughs. But if they find a match, it could change everything. No case in recent history has been plagued with more social media drama than this one. From Facebook groups pushing conspiracy theories to YouTube creators spreading false narratives, the Delphi case has become a battleground for internet sleuths. Some, like Delphi drama, gossip, and rumors, have tried to discredit those covering the case with facts, including myself. But as always, we stay one step ahead. The Ricci Davis Dilemma is just one piece of a much bigger puzzle. Will Allen's conviction be overturned? Will new DNA evidence bring more arrest? Is Ricci Davis telling the truth? Or is he just trying to get out of prison? Only time will tell. But one thing's for sure. This case, after 8 long years, isn't over. Not by a long shot. But tonight, we get into court documents filed. The document is an affidavit of James Winters and reads as follows.
Comes now affiant James Winters and swears and affirms the following. Number 1, my name is James Winters and I am 67 years of age. Number 2, I was a dairy farmer in northern Indiana for 50 years and currently raise Holstein steers. Number 3, I have never been arrested. I have never been in any criminal trouble. Number 4, I don't drink or use illegal drugs. Number 5, I understand that lying in this affidavit would or could result in a charge of perjury, since I am swearing that the things I am saying in this affidavit are true. The things I am saying in this affidavit are true. I have no reason to lie, and I would not lie. Number 7, in the fall of 2024, my nephew, Ricci Davis, asked that I contact the Carroll County Clerk or Prosecutor's Office to find out if they were receiving letters that Ricci had written and addressed to the prosecutor. Ricci told me that the reason that he was asking me for this favor was because he had written several letters to the Carroll County prosecutor about the Delphi murders and was expecting that those letters would prompt the prosecutor and/or law enforcement to meet with him to discuss the information contained in those letters. It was my understanding that Ricci began writing those letters in the weeks before the man who was accused of the Delphi murders was going to trial in the fall of 2024. I did, in fact, call the Carroll County Prosecutor's Office, and I did talk to a nice lady. I don't know if she was a clerk or a secretary or something else. Number 11, I called the prosecutor's office sometime in August, September, or October of 2024. I believe it was closer to October. I told the lady who answered the phone my name and further told her that I was calling on behalf of my nephew, Ricci Davis, and then asked if she knew whether Ricci's letters had been received. The lady immediately told me that she was aware of Ricci Davis's name and indicated that they had received, I believe she said, multiple letters from Ricci. The lady further indicated that every letter she had received from Ricci Davis, she had passed on to the people in charge of the investigation of the Delphi murders. I asked the lady if she would let the investigators know that I had called and that Ricci wanted to talk to them and that he had expected someone would talk to him and that she said she would relay the message to the investigators. I don't remember the name of the lady who answered the phone. I would not lie for anyone, including my nephew. This is the truth. This affidavit consists of 3 pages and 20 paragraphs. I did not prepare this document. Rather, it was prepared by Attorney Baldwin, because I would not know how to prepare such a document. Mr. Baldwin typed out what I told him. Furthermore, I know that Mr. Baldwin is not my attorney, nor is he Ricci Davis's attorney. Everything stated in this document is true, and I am willing to testify in court to these facts if I am asked to do so. I swear and affirm under penalties of perjury that the statements made in this affidavit are true and correct.
But there's just one problem with this affidavit. You see, this affidavit is not accompanied by a sealed notary, which would provide proof that the person actually writing the letter is a real person and is the person who actually wrote this letter. Courts typically require that affidavits are accompanied by the seal of a notary public, confirming the person's identity and that they did, in fact, sign the document before a public notary. But back to that question that we asked a while ago. Can defense teams withhold evidence during a trial and then later use that same evidence to try to overturn a conviction in appeals? The answer to that question is no. The defense team cannot use information that they had prior to trial within the discovery to later form an appeal, claiming it's new evidence, when in reality, it's not. And furthermore, the defense team previously pointed the finger at these so-called real killers as members of a Norse pagan religion called Odinist. Odinism is a religion hijacked by white nationalists, and the defense team claims that they killed Abby and Libby as part of a ritualistic sacrifice to their beliefs. However, all of the men participating in the Odinism religion were cleared with alibi information, video evidence, and witness accounts. It's impossible for the Odinists to have committed the murders, and the defense team knew that. For nearly a year, the defense team claimed that the prosecution intentionally withheld this information from Allen's defense team and demanded that the case be dismissed. However, it was later uncovered that the defense team had the information the entire time and still filed motions to incite public interest and hatred towards the prosecution and the local government of Carroll County. So now they've switched it up again to the Loganite theory, blaming a dead old man who had nothing to do with the murders. And now these Ricci Davis supporters are on top of that. So what does Ricci Davis have to say? I bet we're all wondering, hoping that maybe one day he will give an interview. And from what I hear, that may come a little quicker than we all think. Just stay tuned to True Crime Investigates, right here on the True Crime Rewind podcast. That wraps up this episode of the True Crime Rewind. Or does it? No, it doesn't. You see, there's more to discuss. Let's go back to Kegan Kline and that Anthony Shots profile. The defense team also argued that McClelland's rebuttal mixed up claims about Logan's alleged confession. McClelland stated part of the purported confession included Logan telling Davis he burned the girl's clothes in a fire pit. But the defense pointed out that the original claim stated Logan told Davis he burned his own clothes in the pit, not the girl's. McClelland pointed out in his rebuttal that Logan told Davis he took the battery out of Libby's phone, which doesn't align with physical evidence and discredits the confession. But the defense team claims that they have not seen any exhibits that mention Logan confessing to removing the phone battery. While the court might take Mr. McClelland's misstatement of fact about the burning of clothes as simply mix-up on his part, either McClelland is making up the allegation about Logan removing the battery from the phone out of whole cloth, or he has access to information about Ron Logan's confession to Ricci Davis he has not shared with the defense, Baldwin wrote. The defense team supporters have been going wild with the resurfaced Loganite theory of some hog roast that supposedly took place in the middle of winter in the middle of the woods in the freezing cold outside some old man's house, with people who have never been to Delphi and who have been confirmed by alibi information to be cleared. The Loganites have emerged for the fourth time, never giving up on their perpetuated lies. The ex of Ron Logan, Connie Dillman, said on Crime Nation that Logan used to beat her, and he was the Delphi Killer. But these so-called beatings with a wrench took place over 40 years ago during their 6-year relationship. But in an interview with Connie, directly after Crime Nation aired, Dillman confessed that Angela Sedlowski asked Dillman to lie on television and to authorities. But her conscience got the best of her, and she felt betrayed by Angela, who told her that she was a mental health psychologist from North Carolina and would help her through the grieving process. But Sedlowski quickly abandoned Dillman after the show, leaving her with questions. Questions never answered. And then she spoke again after the defense filed more information claiming corruption and asking the court to now issue an order holding the prosecutor in contempt of court and wanted his ass thrown in jail. But just over a year ago, the prosecutor filed to have the defense team held in contempt for leaking evidence and sensitive crime scene photos to social media influencers and asking them to lie and push a false narrative on a group of Odinists, hijacked by white nationalists in a murder that they say was part of a ritualistic sacrifice to their Norse pagan religion. The court found that the defense was grossly negligent, yet proof beyond a reasonable doubt was hard to prove. However, that would soon change. When I emailed the court giving insight on a series of documents leaked, other than photos that discuss details, the court sealed as part of Allen's probable cause affidavit, which speak about Richard Allen's confession, a detailed confession to law enforcement, and even mentioned how Richard Allen knew Abby and Libby would be at the bridge that day under the pretense that they were going to meet Anthony Schatz, who is that fake profile created by Kegan Kline in 2016. Law enforcement believes someone else in their mid-40s also used the account with different profiles on texting styles. In Allen's confession with law enforcement, a recording that has never been made public. Why? Because I've been saying that Allen was the other user of the Anthony Schatz profile, along with other random men who share online photos containing CSAM material. What also indicates this connection is the other user of the profile asked several times to young girls if they were interested in an older male who is 45 and at times pretended like he was a male and female speaking about sex and grooming the girls into having encounters with an older adult male whom he referred to as his dad. Indicating furthermore, during sentencing, Nick McClelland said when Richard Allen confessed, he told them, quote,
well, yeah, I guess I start. The beginning is kind of hard, to remember every little thing. But yeah, I went out there to the trail. I really don't know why I did it, but I went. When I got there, I lied in wait for them to arrive, and then, well, what happened?
Juvenile witnesses on the trail that day said that Bridge Guy was walking with a purpose, like he was on a mission of some sort. And Betsy Blair said he appeared as if though he was waiting or looking for someone. Klein was caught with several devices containing the explicit material, and none of Allen's phones were connected to anything of the sorts. But the one phone Allen had that day with him was the only phone of all the phones he owned since the 90s that Allen was not in possession of. The mystery search of the Wabash River near Klein's home in Peru, where the cops searched for 40 days before ending the assignment, did they find anything? 18 days later, Allen was being searched and then later arrested. Then immediately, Klein had some of his charges dismissed and others were lowered and amended. Doug Carter confirms this statement, as well as the original order sealing the probable cause affidavit, followed by Nick McClelland for Allen, citing that the investigation is ongoing and still that more arrests could happen based on information that led them to believe more individuals were involved. Further, Othram Labs was paid $20,000 to use new genetic genealogy and new technologies to clone and expand a DNA profile to make a better sample to use for testing and identifying the unknown hairs and DNA at the crime scene to unlock the mystery of whose DNA it actually is. They're still working on those scientific methods, but many didn't pay attention to detail in my Delphi Murders Rewind podcast, where behind the scenes we uncovered information that all came out in the end to be true, despite internet trolls like Debbie Embry Olds, the Prof, Michelle After Dark, who constantly attack people with hate, yet they spread absolute bullshit, hatred, and lies about people with no evidence to back their claims.
Your Delphi strong. Shadows stretch across the fading light. Footsteps trace the path they once knew. In the stillness of the coming night, hearts beat with a purpose true. Echoes linger where they used to play. Their spirit-lit lights our way tonight. We march on in the name of justice, with our hands held high to the sky, in honor of Abby and Libby's courage. We won't let their story slide. We stand unafraid of the bridge guide. United, we are Delphi strong. Winds of change are calling. Whispers turn to shouts. From silent streets to mountains, we let the truth ring out. We march on in the name of justice, with our hands held high to the sky. In honor of Abby and Libby's courage, they'll help this city will survive. We stand unafraid of the bridge guide. Together, we are Delphi strong. Walking down this old forgotten trail, the silence now a battle cry. We carry forward, we prevail. Their light will never die.
While trying to push false information with lies and propaganda on a Facebook group called Delphi Drama, Gossip, and Rumors. Go figure. And then bans me for calling her ass out. But little does she know, I'm still in that group, under an alias. Because I'm used to this kind of thing. Always staying a step ahead of the internet's cyber harassment and attempts to free a killer. And then there's Joe Lewis, that crazy Australian dude who had his channel deleted for spreading fake news and misinformation. But today, a letter filed in Richard Allen's case as an affidavit details some information that could change the outcome of Allen's appellate strategy. Now, get ready for the True Crime Rewind podcast. This is episode 12, The Ricci Davis Dilemma. Now that officially wraps up this episode of the True Crime Rewind podcast. If you want more updates, follow me on social media, like our Facebook page, subscribe to the YouTube channel, and hit us up on Spotify and Apple Podcast. Until next time, stay tuned, stay vigilant, and as always, stay true. Because the truth is out there. Somewhere. Because in a world filled with true crime, murder, and chaos, every saint has a past, and every sinner has a future. I'm Anthony Greeno. What's going on, YouTube? Facebook? TikTok? Or wherever the hell you're watching from? I am Anthony Greeno. Welcome to True Crime Investigates. Coming up tonight on True Crime Investigates. True Crime Investigates. We take you back into the Delphi Murders. But this time, we're talking about Ricci Davis, Ron Logan. Because I've lacked live streaming. Because lately, since the conviction and sentencing of Richard Allen, the bridge guy in the Delphi Murders, I've stopped live streaming. I felt like I didn't have a purpose anymore. You see, I've spent the last 8 years with 6 of those searching for who that man is. And for the last 2, it's been an up and down emotional roller coaster for everyone involved. Not just myself. I'm just a small piece of this grand puzzle. And so are you. And you. And you. Every single one of you who've been there, who I've met, who I've seen along the way, and who I've lost. This case was a testament. A testament that justice will prevail and the truth will rise. It was a test of our souls. How much pain can one endure? How much love can be lost? And how much hurt can be dished out? This has become my life. My love for justice and the unwavering desire to change has taken me from a man with demons, struggles, bad decisions, and lies. But in the end, it has changed me. It has made me who I am today. It has given me the sweetest fruits from the vine. I am living proof. I and you are living proof that no matter how many times you get knocked down, you can always rise right back to the top. No matter what obstacles in the way. Because I've done it not once, not twice, but 3 times. Since the case has ended, I felt like I don't have a purpose anymore. It was the exact identical feeling that Becky Patty had. And she said this. I am so sorry that you guys have had to endure all of this. And while at times I may not have been right, or respectful, or thoughtful, as the last page turns, I've become humbled, appreciative, and have a newfound respect and attitude. Thanks to you. Thanks to Anna, her family. Kelsey, everybody. You may not have liked what I've done at times,
always here to support you because I love you. You are my family, and this is my community and your community. This is home, and no one's going to take that away from us. And no one's going to tarnish our reputations. No one's going to hurt our children. And we're not going to let people from the internet affect us. Because they are no one. I haven't been doing this because I don't feel like I have a purpose. But we see all these accusations come up again and again and again, these hateful groups attacking people. That could only mean one thing. That there is another bad actor out there. And they're gonna be right here on YouTube. I want you to think about this. And while you're thinking about that, I want you to ponder the last question. Who's next? And you know what that means, everybody. That means if the Loganites and the Odinites have band together to create a force of greater evil. Only one thing can stop them. Of greater evil. Coming up tonight, the final boss is back. And I've got a purpose to lay a smack down on their candy asses. Southern style. So let's go, ladies and gentlemen, because we're about to piss some people off tonight. It's time for Anthony Greeno's Unfiltered True Crime.